News Talk 1000, WKDE, serving Bedford, Campbell, and Pittsylvania counties.
I hope you never miss a single edition of the Mike Huckabee Show. Oh yeah, we get into politics and talk to the newsmakers every single day. They want to be on our show because they know we'll talk to them straight and clear. But it's not just people who are in politics. We talk to folks from the entertainment industry. We do movie reviews. We try to make sure that we cover all the landscape of politics and culture. Join us every day on the Mike Huckabee Show.
Weekdays noon to 3 on News Talk 1000 WKDE.
Hi, I'm Tracy Robinson of First National Bank. Did you know there are great home mortgage opportunities available right now? With rates being at an all-time low and 100% financing, our recognized mortgage lenders will deliver the right loan for your needs. Put this together with our other Progressive mortgage products, our fast local service, and we're ready to lend. First National Bank, over 100 years of dependable custom banking. For you and your money, that's important. First National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
I'm Megan Lucas, Economic Development Director for Alta Vista and host of It's Your Business, the area's new and only talk show on topics such as economic development, urban growth, business expansion, and real estate development. If you work in the Alta Vista, Central Virginia economy, or if you care at all about the local community, you'll love the fascinating topics and guests on It's Your Business. Tune in every Saturday morning, 9 a.m., right here on News Talk 1000 WKDE. As the community grows, it's becoming more and more cosmopolitan. The transformation from good community to great community, well, that makes for a lot of exciting talk. It's Your Business will explore exciting topics related to Alta Vista and Metro's future development. First National Bank, Alta Vista and Lynchburg's premier commercial bank, is a proud sponsor of It's Your Business, and we're pleased to have them on board, and more importantly, we're pleased to have them in our communities. Thank you, First National Bank, custom banking since 1908. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. This weather's just a little bit chilly, but it's what's great about living in Virginia is we still have 4 distinct seasons, and we don't have to shovel too much snow, knock on wood. Hopefully everybody's getting ready this morning to head outside for all the activities going on in Alta Vista. So this morning is the townwide yard sale. It's the Scarecrow Stroll, where you can walk around and take a gander at all the scarecrows and then vote for your favorite. It's also the Avoca Harvest Jubilee Wine Festival. So that goes on today from noon to 6. Make sure you head to Avoca. There's going to be lots of great wine here. I've got some information I'll read you. This year, Avoca will they're going to host 7 wineries this morning. Sansui Vineyards, Gabrielle Rousseau Winery, Peaks of Otter Winery, Rebick Vineyards, Tomahawk Mill Winery, Attillo Vineyards, and Hickory Hill Vineyards will all be under the oak trees down in Avoca. It's a family-friendly event. It includes an adult-supervised children area with lots of bounce houses. Meanwhile, the adults can relax in the shade. Won't need too much shade today because there was a chill in the air, but still it'll be nice. Relax in the shade, listen to Encore and the Ministers of Soul, or just wander around the landscape and enjoy the beautiful foliage down there at Avoca. Food will include grilled chicken, hot dogs, hamburgers, and of course the annual Avoca Bake Sale with all your favorite goodies. If you want to attend and you don't have your pre-tickets, it's $18 for the tasting to attend, $10 for non-tasting, $5 for children who are not tasting, obviously, from ages 5 to 11, and children under 5 are free. So much going on today. After you finish listening to me with my amazing guests on the radio show this morning, bundle up and head out into Alta Vista and enjoy all the great things going on. I want to remind you that there's about 40 plus scarecrows around downtown, so there's a lot to see. And really, the Alta Vista on Track, they're the ones sponsoring the town's the stroll as well as the townwide yard sale. So there's gonna be lots of neat things to be had. It's time to sign up for the annual Giblet Jog. It's the 7th annual Giblet Jog, which will be Thanksgiving morning. That event is a 5K fun run walk that's held at English Park. You can register for that at altavistaontrack.com. And again, that's a wonderful event that brings everybody back home to Alta Vista. And before we stuff ourselves with so much turkey, we go for a nice 3.2-mile run in beautiful English Park, enjoying the foliage. And of course, it'll be a nice crisp morning, just like we're experiencing now. So thanks for tuning in. My guests today are pretty important, and we're thrilled to have them in Alta Vista. As the listeners have heard, my name is Megan Lucas. I'm the town's new Economic Development Director. I've been here about a year now. And the town of Alta Vista, along with Alta Vista Economic Development Authority and a strategic group comprised of local citizens, put together an economic development strategic plan. And that strategic plan had 6 key elements that we were to focus on. Now, the first element of that implementation matrix was to hire a certified economic development director, which they did a year ago, and I am pleased that I'm still here, and the town keeps me on board, and I'm enjoying myself and certainly enjoying Alta Vista. But one of the other key elements of the plan was marketing. And when we talk about marketing for economic development, it's not the standard marketing of tourism or overall community. It's specific marketing to industries, manufacturers, site selectors who are responsible predominantly for helping a company relocate, as well as corporate and commercial realtors. So it's a real targeted marketing process. And to do that, we did to hire the right person, the right team. The town did an RFP, and that went national. And we received really about 16 proposals, and they came from local as Lynchburg to Virginia, and then we had them all the way from responses all the way from California, Colorado, Canada, a couple Canadian companies, Maryland, and so we had a lot of really great responses. But the focus on our point, from our perspective, was we wanted to hire an agency, a company that had a large book of experience working in the field of economic development, and had a strong working knowledge of what it takes to be an economic developer, how the economic development process works, who our audience is. And so what we've done is we went through a long selection process, and we've hired Brand Acceleration Inc. out of Indianapolis, Indiana. That's easy for me to say. But they've been in town this week getting to know the community. And one of the things, what they're charged to do is help design our business brand, our business logo, and then our economic development website. So welcome, Jim and Colleen Walton. Jim is the CEO of Brand Acceleration, and Colleen is the Executive Vice President for our social media and marketing. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Well, of course. So glad to have you in Alta Vista for a couple days. And we brought this cool weather down to make sure you felt at home.
This is not cool weather. At home, it's been snowing and freezing rain. So
Yeah.
This is like a balmy spring day. for us.
I don't miss it. So you all, Jim, your Brand Acceleration, how long have you all been around?
We've been in business since 2006.
And how many economic development websites would you say your company has designed?
Oh, gosh. I couldn't tell you exactly. Dozens.
Yeah.
We work with cities, counties, and regions all over the country,
Helping them design their economic development website.
helping them to design websites, but also to discover their messaging, to discover the brand.
Now, why did you choose economic development as a niche?
It kind of goes back to some personal history. When I was a young man, my dad was an electrician in a local factory, and every 3 years they went on strike, and we just got used to the idea that my dad was going to be on strike. We called it an extended vacation.
Mm-hmm.
But then one day he came home after being on strike for a few weeks and announced that the plant was closing. And I saw what it did to the community. And so when I started this company, I decided that I wanted to be on the side of the business that brought jobs to town as opposed to watching them go away. And one of the reasons that we decided to focus on one industry, because all we do is economic development, is because we felt like if we really studied the audiences and understood them better than anybody, we could be a resource to our clients as opposed to simply a website developer who designs pretty sites.
Right.
Because in this industry, a pretty site is nice, but
Right.
it's nowhere near enough.
Right. And from my perspective, as the economic development for Alta Vista, if I want to have a tie made, or if I want ties made, I'm going to go find a tie manufacturer. And if I need an economic development website, I'm going to go find somebody who specializes in economic development websites and marketing and branding. And it's not that there isn't anybody locally to do that. There were some people who, in Virginia who could do that. But you really have an amazing history of working with communities, and you have such a good understanding of the economic development culture and the customers. So how do you, first of all, for our listening audience, who are the customers for economic development? Who utilizes a website? Why is our creating our business brand and logo and an economic development website critical?
Well, the customers there are four. There are site selection consultants. These are people who are contracted by companies to find a location. There are corporate C-suite, we call that C-suite executives. So the real estate executive at a company who will come into a community and find the right location. There are real estate brokers, but then of course there are the local companies who might be considering expansions. At Brand Acceleration, our goal, our passion is to understand everything they're looking for, everything they need. It's not enough to just know the community, but we have to know what they're looking for.
Right.
So
Right.
everything from when they first go to the website, we know which page they're going to look at first.
Yeah.
And from there, we know where they will go. So it's really a passion.
So what page? I'm out there getting to know site selectors because they're the ones most connected to the companies who want to expand, and so what pages site selectors go to first. What are the top 4 pages?
I could say the first one is going to be sites and buildings.
Okay.
They want to come in and see what you have in the way of land and available buildings. And if you don't have what they're looking for, that may be all it takes.
Right.
Next will be the local economic data. After that, it'll be workforce data, and tied directly to that, number 4 would be education.
Okay.
So they're looking at your workers, they're looking at your cost of doing business, the cost of living. These are all critical things, and they have to find it because they're not going to shop around and go from site to site to site. They're going to look at your site, and if they don't find out what they want, they move on, and you're off the list.
Right. Remember the good old days. So in the good old days of economic development, Billy Bob, who was the vice president for corporate expansion, would throw his blue jeans on and drive into a community, and he'd wander around and ask questions about, you got any land available, and what kind of people work here, and he would never tell you who he was or why he was asking, and that's how they used to do it. And that's how you would either continue to be on a list or get removed. But these days, 5-10 years ago, that's changed, and site selectors and people and companies doing the research, they get it all off the internet first.
They get it all off the internet first. They may start with a list of 10 or 15 or 20 cities that they're considering. Then they'll shorten that down to maybe a list of 3 or 5.
All based on what they found on the internet.
All based on what they found on the internet. And they may go through that process of moving from 20 to 3 in about 30 minutes.
Right.
So they move quickly. Our passion, our goal is to know that when they go to the website, they find what they're looking for. Because what we want to do is keep you on that list.
Right.
Because if they move on, it's all over.
Which is why it's critical that we have the type of website that we're going to have.
It is critical. It's the portal. Going back to my early advertising days, my first job in the advertising industry was in retail. And my job as a teenager, aside from doing things like sweeping the floors and emptying the trash, I was the window dresser. I was the guy that put the displays in the windows. And I was taught that if the windows weren't effective, people would either come into the store because they like what they saw, or they would walk right by. Website is the same way. If they don't like what they see or they can't find it, they go right on by.
Now let's talk about the difference between a website that's focused on tourism, or a website that's perhaps just focused on a business, whether it be a salon or car dealer, or pick any business on Main Street, and an economic development website. What are the differences in those websites?
Well, I'd say that you first have to look at the audience. The high end of the audience, the pinnacle is the site selection consultant. That person is going to look at that website for certain data. It's a research tool. A tourism site, for example, it's more of a promotional tool. They go there looking for beauty. They want to see beautiful images. We'll have those things on your website too.
Yeah.
But the data and the content is what really is important, and you have to know what they're looking for, and you have to show it well.
And you have to the data has to be accurate.
Has to be accurate.
I'm sure have you ever experienced any communities with inaccurate information on their websites? Any horror stories you can share there, or what's the result of that? I mean, what happens when that?
Well, site selection consultants are fickle people. They'll come to your website and they'll look for the data. They always tell you that they have better sources than you do, and I'm sure they do. But when they're doing that first glance, that shortening of the lists, they come to your website, they look for the data, and if they don't find it, they'll move on. They could go to their source and hunt, but when you're shortening a list from 20 to 3 and you've got 30 minutes or maybe a day,
Right.
you're not going to hunt much.
Yeah.
You're going to go look, and if you don't see it, you move on. Because they have so many options of where they could take their jobs, they're not going to spend a lot of time looking at it. They're going to look, and if they don't see it, they move right
They're not
on.
going to dig. They're not going to
No,
spend a lot of
they're
time
not
digging.
digging.
So, do you know how many time or how long they'll spend on the customers that we're talking about, the folks that, are the people we're trying to reach? Do you know what sites, what pages they click on? Do you know how long they spend on those pages?
It depends on if they find what they're looking for.
Okay.
If they find what they're looking for, they might stay quite a while. We've seen them come in and be gone in a matter of a few minutes because we look at the analytics. We can see that. We had one just the other day in another state where we saw that a high-end corporate real estate executive had spent a lot of time on a website and had looked at every single page on that site. To us, that was a lead.
Yeah.
When they're spending a lot of time looking at every page, that's a lead.
Yeah.
And we backtracked that and we found the guy so that
And then you communicate that to the Economic Development Agency that you did the website for?
In that case we did.
Okay.
We called him and said, hey, this guy's looked at your website. He spent a lot of time there.
Yeah.
This is abnormal. You got to call this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so as I've said, the Economic Development Department for the town of Alta Vista, which I coordinate, has hired Brand Acceleration to come in and develop our business brand, our logo, and then, of course, this website, which is going to be dynamic and responsive as opposed to static and boring. So you've been in town for the process. So what have you been doing while you were in town?
You've been taking us everywhere. We've seen everything.
Yeah.
We've met everybody. We've eaten at Perky's.
Yep.
And that was a wonderful
And the Main Street
experience.
Cafe.
And the
Yeah.
Main Street Cafe,
Yeah.
both were wonderful
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah.
So it's been a great couple of days.
So we kicked the time off with meeting with some of the plant managers. Why was meeting with the plant managers critical, and what role does that play in this process?
Well, the plant managers are essentially emblematic of the people we're trying to attract. They know what's important to running that business, and we want to make sure that we understand from their perspective what Alta Vista has to offer, because we can then take that information and turn right around and offer it up to people all over the world through this website.
Right, right. Great. So then you had dinner at Perky's, which is always good. I thought it was interesting, the conversation with the plant managers, and the plant managers were like, "Oh yeah, we take everybody to Perky's,"
Yeah.
because people, when you ask people what they know about Alta Vista, it's always Perky's.
Yeah.
And not that Perky's is paying for advertising, but on this show anyway, we appreciate Perky's because they're one of those things that help identify the community.
Well, when I came back, when we knew that we were going to come back,
Yep.
what was the first thing I told you?
You said, "Thanks for hiring us, and we want to go to Perky's,"
That's right.
which I thought was
They were
fun.
priorities.
So then we got together the next day. We had coffee with the Chamber of Commerce, and then we had tour of Graham Packaging. How was the tour at Graham?
Oh, it was excellent. It was amazing. I mean, for anybody who has this vision of factory life, of factory work as the old style, dark and dirty and stinky and nasty, I would say you need to go look at Graham.
Yeah.
Because that is a cool place. It's bright, it's clean, it is really contemporary, advanced manufacturing.
Yep, it's great. And Vidya, the plant manager, is just a delight to work with. So after Graham Packaging, you toured VTI. Why, you've been in a lot of other communities. Is having a place like Virginia Technical Institute a positive or a negative?
Oh, it's always a positive.
And why is that?
Well, because they serve as a partner in helping not only the community and the residents here, but also helping the employers or the prospective employers to identify maybe weaknesses in the workforce that they can then fill. So if an employer comes in and says, we need welders, we will need skilled, certified welders, VTI can do that.
Yeah.
They can fill that gap, train those welders, and make the workforce ready.
Yeah, it's really a critical element to the workforce. And Alta Vista is really fortunate to have a place like VTI here and their commitment to the region. Not just Alta Vista, but they're committed to the regional workforce. And they have 100% placement.
Yeah.
Which is pretty rare.
It's an excellent place.
Yeah.
I think that it's a jewel. It's definitely an asset to the community.
Yeah. So you wrapped up your VTI tour with lunch with the stakeholders. So the stakeholders, you met with the executive directors and the board chairs of the Alta Vista Chamber, the YMCA, Alta Vista on Track, Avoca Museum, and don't forget everybody, today's the wine festival down in Avoca, the Alta Vista Planning Department. And I think I said Alta Vista on Track. I think I got everybody there. And so you met with, you're about 20 people.
Yeah.
What did you do? I missed lunch. I'm sorry I missed that. But what sort of dialogue did you have? Do you have a series of questions you asked them?
We talked a lot about you.
Yeah, no.
Since you were gone.
Yeah, you elected me, what is it? If you're never there, you always get elected
That's
to
right.
whatever.
We'll tell you about that
I'm
later.
treasurer now, or something. But you met with that group, and how did they receive you? And what was that? What was the conversation like?
Oh, they were great. One of the things that we wanted to do was sit with them and essentially identify strengths and recognize weaknesses. So we had a nice discussion with the entire group, and we learned a lot about what this community has to offer. And it was also nice to hear their vision for the future.
Yeah.
Because it's always exciting for us when we meet with a group like that, and there was probably about 20, 25 people in the room, and listen to them talk about the vision that they have for the future of the town. And it's big and it's positive.
Yeah.
And that's exciting for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a great group. I wish, though, that Maria from the Y would be. I wish she'd come out of her shell a little bit. She was
kind of shy.
She was really shy. And Steve Jester. No, I came in for the tail end of it, and certainly I love the way when you ask the question about, you're in an elevator and somebody says, why should I move a manufacturing facility to Alta Vista? And I like that you had them all give their 30-second what they would say, and there were some themes in there and some not some themes, but I thought that was great. And as those core groups right there, those are the groups that are selling Alta Vista on a regular basis. And so I'm anxious as we develop this business brand and logo that then I can, bring them back together again and say, here it is. And we all need to be saying this, similar things. These are our themes that we always want to use. So I'm glad that went well. So then you went on to tour, BGF. How was that?
Loud.
Yeah, it was loud, wasn't it? Yeah.
A very cool place, though. I mean, I love going into these local factories where I see new technology. Well, it's not necessarily new technology, but the products they make are really cutting edge.
Absolutely. Their woven fabrics are in components of the interior of airplanes. Their fabric is on, I think they told me once, 90% of all surfboards have their fabric on it.
Oh, really?
And I thought, we need a surfboard that says Surf Alta Vista and really confuse people.
Yeah,
But
that'll be your logo.
Yeah, I'm the one who likes to do that weird marketing where it makes no sense, but it gets people to think about your community. BGF is a great community, one of our large employers, and then we turned around and we toured Abbott.
We did. That was a really cool place. I mean, anything food product, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting place to go in and see the high tech and see the cleanliness of food food manufacturer.
Yeah, they did I wish we would have had time for you to tour all of our manufacturers in Alta Vista, but we just didn't have that enough time. But I think the three you got are certainly valuable, like all of our industries in Alta Vista. And so I'm glad you got to engage with them. And then, of course, we wrapped the day up with a meeting at the train station where we invited the boards of all those stakeholder groups. And I thought that was good.
It was a good time,
Yeah.
meeting all those people and kind of, just kind of wrapping up the day and seeing everybody and touching bases one more time to
Yeah.
make sure that the messaging that we heard was consistent with everything
Yeah.
we'd heard over the couple days.
Yeah, and you had new people there, and so they wanted, we wanted to get their opinions and their thoughts on all the same questions. So now you've got all this information. You talk to all these people, and I'm going to ask Colleen because poor girl she just gets to stare at the mic a little bit.
Jim's a talker. It's
Yeah.
all right.
So, but you've spent all this time in our community, which we're so thrilled to have you. And you've met I think some pretty amazing people. You've learned a lot. But what's next? What are you going to do with all this information?
Well, we're going to go back home and just kind of go over all the notes that we took while we were here, kind of interpret everything that everyone told us, and really look for common themes in what everybody says. So when we ask people, what words would you use to describe the community? What are the community's strengths? We'll then kind of compile a list and figure out 3 or 4 things that the community really has going for it that makes it really attractive to businesses. And then from there, we'll develop a message strategy that's the best way for us to convey the assets that the community has that's unique to Alta Vista, that makes it a really ideal place for these people to do business. And then from there, we'll start to develop the message and the concept, and then we'll get into the website design. But one thing that is kind of unique about our process is we do all of our writing first. So the design really comes later, because what's really important to us isn't what the website looks like, what the logo looks like. It's the message that it conveys, and that we're getting out the information that is really important to you and to Alta Vista to promote it as a place to do business.
Well, and you're tying the message in the text, for lack of, in the text and the data, but you're tying that message by doing that first. Then the design and the logo are oftentimes you get a logo and a design, and you try and fit the text
Right.
to the design and the logo. And I think I appreciate the way that you're doing it, because it's about the message and the information we're trying to convey, and then the color schematics of the site and the logo, they communicate that message. So that's fantastic.
Well, one of the things that we hear all the time is that, your process is completely different than we've ever experienced. We think message really does matter. And the typical approach, and this isn't to be critical of anybody in the industry, but the typical approach among web developers, for example, is to design what they call a wireframe. So here's what it's going to look like. And then they send it over to you. You take a look at it and say, well, it's pretty, that looks good. And then somebody has to fill the holes with writing.
Right.
And they might say, well, you got enough room for 100 words or 50 words. So what happens in that process is that the message becomes an afterthought. And to us, the message is everything.
Yeah.
We understand what those audiences want to see and hear, and message really is everything. We'll make it beautiful,
Right.
but it has to be, message heavy.
Potent.
Potent.
So, will you beta test this with our audiences?
We'll beta test it with a number of audiences,
Great.
including the site selectors. We send it to them, ask them to test drive it, tell us what they think.
Yeah.
Of course, we'll beta test it with you and your community leaders.
Well, I certainly appreciate, the Alta Vista Economic Development Authority went through quite a very lengthy process to write the RFP, a very specific RFP, and to weed through 16 responses, which we were thrilled to get. And then we did about 7 interviews with 7 different companies. And so we're thrilled to hire Brand Acceleration to do this critical project for Alta Vista. Alta Vista is a fabulous community. I'm a little biased, but it's a fabulous community. But they're focused on doing the right things first to really create that foundation for future economic development versus, I have friends who are hired into economic development positions and everybody says, go and hire 7,000 jobs, bring it now. Well, you can't recruit those companies if you don't have the land to put them in, the infrastructure to support them. And if the site selectors can't find you, they're not coming. They're not bringing those industries. So, I applaud the Town Council and the Alta Vista Economic Development Authority for their vision to say, here are the 6 areas we need to focus on. We need to hire an economic development director. We need to focus on expanding Alta Vista's network. We need to focus on marketing and branding. We need to develop our product, which is another thing that we're working on, which is land. We don't have a land for economic development. And of course, entrepreneurism and business retention, which, is building those relationships with the industry. Some you were able to visit and others, sadly, you missed. But I applaud the Town Council and, again, the Alta Vista Economic Development Authority. And I applaud you all for coming to Alta Vista.
Well, this is a great time. Great time to be here.
Well, thank you so much for coming, and thanks for being on the radio this morning. I know you're going to get out and take some photos and tour around not just Alta Vista but the region. And Colleen, we didn't get to talk much about media, social media strategy, but is social media critical in the world of economic development?
I think it absolutely is, because I think it gives you an opportunity to show the personality of your community. And also, it reaches such a wide platform because you have people that use just Facebook or just Twitter or just LinkedIn. So if you're using all 3, you can easily reach 3 times as many people as if you're using just one.
Right.
And we're going to set up all those pages for you, too.
Right, which has been difficult for me because I wanted to set up an Alta Vista Economic Development Facebook page right out of the chute, and the same with LinkedIn, but I kept, I had to temper myself and say, you got to wait till you have the message so they can all be cohesive and consistent. So
they'll all be branded. They'll all look alike.
That's right.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much for being at Alta Vista, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to It's Your Business this morning. I'm Megan Lucas, the town's Economic Development Director, and if you like what you heard, or even if you don't, give me a buzz at 434-369-5001. I'd love to hear from you, and if you tell me you heard this show, the cup of coffee is on me, so just find me and tell me. I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee. See you all, hopefully, at the Avoca Wine Fest at the townwide yard sale, and looking at the scarecrows today. So there's a lot going on in Alta Vista. Get outside and enjoy it. And thanks for tuning in to Your Business.
I'm Todd Hall, President of First National Bank. For over 100 years, we have proudly served our customers in Central Virginia, and we're excited about continuing to provide financial solutions into the future. At First National Bank, our focus is on you, the customer, and delivering a very high level of service is our top priority. In fact, our employees are empowered to make decisions that provide you an extraordinary customer experience. So stop in one of our 8 local branches and give us a try. First National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Making your house into a home takes inspiration, perspiration, and information. Hi, I'm Danny Lippert. Each week on Today's Homeowner, we cover the tips, techniques, and practical solutions you need to make your house the best-looking house on the block. Along with my co-host, Alan Lyle and Amy Hughes, we tackle your home improvement questions while having a little fun along the way. So make sure you join us every Saturday morning from 7 to 9 on News Talk 1000 WKDE.